Hey, this is Meridith, Elliott, Powell, and it is Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. And all through the month of December, Mark Hunter and I are coming to you Monday mornings with Sales Logic. Remember, as we kick off 2022, we'll be back on our regular Saturday mornings, but we wanted to make sure that we sell straight through the holidays. So, hey, Mark, you are coming to us from your new home in Dallas.
Hey, it is. And you just made the comment 9 a.m. Eastern. I think it's like 8 a.m. Eastern.
Oh, that's right. It is 8 a.m. Eastern. I'm just used to it being 9. God, I'm still on vacation time.
No, I was going to say you're just excited to get working. That's all. Because, I mean, you and I got several emails from you yesterday. I sent you several. So I know that, it's amazing. It may be the holidays, but we're still working. So.
Oh, yeah. It's actually, to me, it's kind of nice because it's a little bit quiet and you can get a few things done. But speaking of getting a few things done, you ready to dive into the show?
Let's roll. Let's go.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
It is Sales Logic. And Mark Hunter, the biggest thing there is Jackson.
Hey, good morning, Jackson. Good morning, Jackson.
He's a little chagrined because that door leads to the bedroom where he can get back into the bed. But anyway, it is 8 a.m. Eastern, as Mark reminded me. Monday morning, time for Sales Logic. And you're probably thinking, what are these two doing coming to you talking about sales in the middle of the holiday season? But that is the best time you should be getting ready for 2022. Mark's going to give you a heads up as to what's happening in the show today, but I'm going to tell you first how this show works. Every morning, every either Saturday or Monday, depending on the holiday schedule, we come to you and talk about a hot topic. My favorite part of the show are the questions we get from you, the audience. We recommend a book that you ought to be reading, and just so that you get return on investment, we make sure that we do a lightning round. This morning is exciting because we are not only broadcasting live off my YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook channels, but we have added Mark. So we are reaching a bigger audience. We are seriously high tech.
Hey, we are high tech because, we're on 2 LinkedIn channels. We're on 2 Facebook channels. We're on 2 YouTube channels. I think it's pretty cool. So I think it's absolutely terrific. We got comments that are already coming in. Hey, the topic today is, what does 2022 hold in terms of sales and business growth? That's the topic. Let's get into the question. The question comes to us from Ron in Tucson. He says, I'm excited about 2022 and what our sales team can accomplish. The past 2 years, government regulation was in our favor. However, first quarter of this year, that regulation will go away. How do I get my team to stay focused and on track without the help of the government forcing people to buy our products?
Well, unfortunately, you're going to lose that government regulation. But believe it or not, this is going to be one of the best things that ever happened to you. Because in essence, when we have outside forces working for us, while it's nice, it can turn us into order takers rather than salespeople. So I love that you've asked this question now, because you have first quarter to get ready for this, to prepare the team, and you shouldn't waste one moment. Number one, talk to the team about the fact of, as soon as you can get them back together, about the fact that this regulation is going away, and put together a plan. Who are the customers that you need to go back and visit? Are there other products and services you can sell to those customers who bought the original product because of regulation? What is going to be your strategy? What's going to be your messaging as soon as the regulation stops?
And this all starts with this whole idea. You have to understand, why were you selling? Why was your team selling? Was your team selling to satisfy a regulation, or was the team selling to satisfy an outcome? And this is where you have to make sure that the sales team's mindset is focused on that outcome. We've talked about outcome. We've talked about that a lot here on the show. but it is so key. It's not selling because of the regulation. And if you've got people, I'm going to be very candid. If you've got people, Ron, who are in that camp that can only sell because of the regulation, you know what they were? They were order takers.
Yeah, big
You
time.
need to move them. You need to move them over to your customer service department. And go back to what Meridith said. It's really creating, what's the story? What's the value proposition? You know, one of the best things that you can do is take some of those sales that you made over the previous year with the help of regulation and say, and use those. What were the outcomes they created? What was the story behind that? That is what can propel you going forward. This is the best of times, because now, guess what? You get to ride the bike without training wheels.
Yeah. I'd also say, I love what Mark is saying here, because I think the first thing that you need to do is you need to motivate the team. You know, I don't care, even the best salespeople, the moment that we get something like a freebie, like regulation working in our way, it just becomes easy. And we're just human beings. We will take the easy path. We'll forget the value proposition. We'll forget what we're doing for the customer. And we'll just say, you know what? Government says you have to have this. So here's the product. Let's get it taken care of. Both you and the customer are in that headspace. But what Mark is talking about is saying, go back to what are the difference? Even though you sold because of regulation, it still produced an outcome. It made a difference for those customers. Go back and remind your sales team of the difference that they're making, of the value the product brought to prospects and to customers. Start there. I just cannot emphasize enough that you have to start immediately. You know, you have 3 months before the end of the first quarter. So you want to get all your ducks in a row, and really by February at the latest, you want your team selling on value proposition, not on regulation.
I'm going to say, you really don't even have January and February. You got to make this happen in January, because really an easy way to look at this. This is what happens when you announce a price increase. You announce a price increase and people sell against the price increase. And immediately after the price increase, people are like, oh, I can't sell, because they became so focused on the price increase. This is the same thing. You've got to come back to, what is it? Why is it? Remember, nobody buys anything. They invest. And that's what they're focused on. Hey, let's jump over to the topic. What does 2022 hold in terms of sales and business growth? Let's go under the crystal ball. Let's see what the mind has to reveal.
You know, I was thinking about this the other day, because we're working on some new copy for my website, and wow, are we starting off this year with a lot of uncertainty? I mean, you know, yesterday when I got up and hearing it again this morning, just the amount of flights and things that have been canceled, what Omicron is doing in terms of, you know, the resurgence, you know, in terms of people getting tested, and labor shortages, and will interest rates go up, and what's going to happen with, you know, with inflation. We have a lot of uncertainty. So on the surface, this looks like a really challenging sales year. And I'm going to agree that it is going to be a challenging sales year if you're more taking orders rather than you're really selling. You know, the thing about sales is, the moment that the economic situation or the market or the competitive situation gets challenging, your customers need you more than ever. So I think 2022 is going to be a strong year, because of the level of uncertainty and the challenge in the marketplace. Prospects and customers need a value-added resource, but how you sell is going to need to be more confident, stronger, and more based on solutions.
I tell you what, there's something that you said there, because this is now year 3 of uncertainty. Okay?
Crazy, right?
This is year 3. If we haven't figured it out by now, folks, guess what? You need to find a different business to be in. Really? I mean, because think about this for a moment. We've all really have come through this very well. It really is amazing how strong business is. So this means we've learned how to dance in uncertainty. Now, what does this mean? This means something. This is one of the key things that I'm focusing in on. You got to eliminate the outside noise. I can't control flight cancellations. I can't control the next variant. I can't control that. All I can control is what I can control. That's where I focus my effort. And I find that the organizations that allow themselves to become victimized by the winds of media, by the winds of society, by the winds of whatever's happening out there, they are the ones that struggle the most. This, more than ever, if there's something we should all have learned by now, it's discipline. It's discipline. When we become disciplined, I just before we did our show here this morning, I was talking to a good friend of ours, Jeff Bajorek. I'm sure you know Jeff Bajorek.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about the discipline of the activity and how it's really understanding what lane you're in, staying in your lane, staying focused, and not getting caught up in shiny objects. And in this period of uncertainty, there are more shiny objects than ever. We have to eliminate the distractions.
Speaking of eliminating distractions, I think one of the biggest distractions, one of the things that I predict you will be doing in 2022 is breaking up with customers who don't fit your mold. You're really not going to have a lot of time to waste. It's going to be, people, when the level of uncertainty remains high, and I don't know if it's getting higher or people are more exhausted, but I think 2022 selling to people, it's going to be harder to get in the door. It's going to be harder to get their time, and it's going to be harder to get them to make a decision because they're weighing a lot. I mean, they've got to watch their expenses. They've got to make sure they're generating revenue at the level. So you're going to need to sell from a place of power rather than a place of need, and really looking at prospects and customers and asking yourself, is this the highest and best use of my time? Is this where I should be spending my time and energy? Because every time you say yes to a customer, you say no to another prospect. So you have to think about that. And one of my goals for this year is I want to increase my profitability, but I want to work less. And for me, that means that I am going to need to be far more choosy about who I work with.
There's something that you said there, very, very key. And each year I select what's going to be my word of the year. And a word, and I don't know if it's going to be the word I'm going to choose, but it's sustainable. Is sustainable. Is what I'm doing sustainable? One of the key things that I think happens so many times in businesses is they wind up becoming just really buffeted by the directions of other customers. Understand who is your customer and stay in that lane. I think we're going to have tremendous business growth next year. I really do. I think the supply chain is going to work itself through. We can say interest rates are going to go up, but let's not kid ourselves. They've been lower than ever for the last 35, 40 years. So you know what, guys? We can work through this. All of these pieces we can work through. The key really comes back to understanding what is your value proposition and how can you scale it? How can you scale your value proposition? And don't be afraid to look outside the box to find new customers. Now, does this mean going outside your lane? No, it means staying right in your lane. But remember, the lane that you have, there are many other businesses, many other people who probably who need your product, your service. You just haven't found them yet. So your objective is to go out and find them. That's one of the objectives that I think the first quarter is all about. First quarter is about prospecting. First quarter is about building the pipeline as big as possible.
I would say that too. I mean, you've got to get you need to call harder on prospects in the first quarter than you do any other time. I will say though, everything about 2022 is going to be different than 2021. I mean, so much and we didn't have to deal with inflation last year. We didn't have to deal with rising interest rates. The supply chain really became an issue in the back half of 2021. So you need to relook at your sales process because parts of your sales process are not going to work. Just because they worked in 2021 does not mean that they are going to work in 2022. So you need to go back and you really need to revisit that. George has piped in here with a comment. If you are starting a side gig on consulting and speaking based on a recently published book, what simple sales strategies to consider and how to create a competitive price? Mark, what do you think?
Well, there's so much to be said there, and it doesn't just appeal to somebody who just, looking for a side gig or, publish a book. This appeals to anybody. You have to understand what is the difference. What's the outcome? And again, I use the word every show, outcome, but it comes down to that. The competitive price is really based on the value that the customer receives, period. There's a reason why you can buy an airline ticket for the same route, same city, same flight at 4 or 5 different price points, because of the competitive nature and what is the outcome that you're looking to achieve. So coming back to this simple sales strategies, George, I'm going to share with you, and I think Meridith will echo this. Writing a book is easy. Selling it is really hard.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
So, but here's the whole thing. It's interesting. Here's another great comment. It just came in. A healthy pipeline solves most problems in sales. You're right. A rising tide lifts all boats. So, George, go back to your whole thing with your book. You have to ask yourself in your book, did I create some lobster traps that allow people to come in and experience me and experience what I have to offer? And then I create a staircase where I begin bringing them in and bringing them through a staircase, funnel, whatever you want to call it, but of higher value opportunities that you can provide them with. Wow, we got
George,
a lot of comments jumping in.
I want to comment on. I want to give George a couple of simple sales strategies. So we want to get George on the stage this year, and I love that you've piped in and you've asked a couple of questions. I love that you've published a book. You have done something that so many sales professionals don't do, and that gives you credibility right there. So a couple of simple sales strategies should be: number one, take so many excerpts from the book and start pushing them out on social media. Really work on getting yourself known for that book and the topic that you speak about. Make a list of companies that you would like to speak for. Send them a free copy of the book and do a sheet with it that says you've got a keynote and a program that basically goes with this. I would also think about maybe around the end of February or something, offer a free webinar where you just give a tease on the book, and your sale at the end is that you offer a consulting package or a workshop or something like that. But start to use the book as part of your brand and what you're known for. And as you build your reputation, those things are going to start to come for you. But George, I want to see you hit some stages, but you would be surprised of really being targeted with that, how well you're going to do. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. And don't think the book in and of itself is going to get you in any amount of business. The book is just opens the door. You've got to like do what Meridith said, and then follow up. Because again, the book in and of itself is not going to do anything for you. You got to put the pieces out there. Hey, Larry Levine has jumped in. This is absolutely great to hear from Larry. It is. Salespeople and their leadership must learn how to stay in the relevancy lane. Yeah, and you know what? See, that applies to George. It's taking those clips, taking those little pieces, taking those little snippets. George, you're going to see this in my LinkedIn profile. You're going to see a lot of times I will post an image with a quick quote, with a quick comment from one of my books. And then I follow up and I follow up and I follow up. So it's good. Larry, always great to hear from you, checking in from the West Coast at Dark 30. So it's absolutely terrific. We got a lot of comments. This is great. We're on so many different platforms now. This is terrific. When you take the angle of giving, you will get what you need in return. One of the lessons from Larry Levine. Oh yes, it is. We have so many great people who chime in on the show. We love it. It is. It's cool. Sales is without a doubt an amazing community of people helping people.
I would definitely agree with that. Tyler, I really want to comment. I want to put back up your comment. A healthy pipeline solves most problems in sales. I feel like that is going to be the quote of the week. In fact, I'm going to do a graphic around it and quote you and put it out there on social media. Obviously, you are a big fan, like we are, of Larry Levine, having quoted his things, but I just don't want our audience to lose this comment. He is so right. If you have a really strong pipeline, the amount of problems it is going to solve for you, or fears or concern, my pup's doing a little downward dog this morning, is so true. And it's just a really powerful statement. I don't want to let it go.
Well, and that's why January has to be prospecting month. I mean, I love what January brings, because the bigger I can make my pipeline, the more confident I am. And we talk about sales growth. I always look at this. The activity I do in January and February needs to be focused around sustainable, scalable. In other words, can I sustain it? Can I scale it? Because that's going to create incremental opportunities for me throughout the year. That's what I don't know. I am so bullish on 2022. We got a cool lightning round that's going to come up here in a bit, and I'm going to share with you some things I'm doing, and I know you're doing some things. Here's something to keep in mind, and if you think about the comments we've been getting from people, you got to make sure that you align yourself with other superstar people. That's why we love this audience, because people come to the Sales Logic podcast on a regular basis to listen, because hopefully they think Meridith and I, at least Meridith, is a superstar. And that's who you want to be hanging out with. You don't have time to hang out with people who are, I hate to say it, but low-level people. You just do not have time. That's why we like people like Larry, we like Tyler, we like George, all these people who have chimed in this morning. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, you want to dive into the book?
Let's go ahead and dive into the book. Go ahead and, it sounds like, look, you got a copy of it right there.
I do have a copy of it this morning. I was thinking about 2022, and it's something we haven't talked yet about on this podcast. And it's probably a podcast we need to devote to, but I think this is a massive thing you need to be focused on for 2022. And that is social selling. I mean, your reputation, reaching people via social media. I cannot believe the amount of work, even that ticked up in the last 6 months of the year, from people following me online. This is from a friend of ours, Heather Lutzy. And Mark, I don't know if you've read the book, but it's called Marketing Espionage: How to Spy on Yourself, Your Prospects, and Your Competitors to Dominate Online. It's a great little read by Heather Lutzy. Is a SEO expert, probably more than that. But it basically, this is how to figure out what your reputation is online, how well your competitors, what you're doing, how you stack up against them, but more importantly, the powerful strategies that you need to increase, get above the white noise, stand out from your competition. And when your prospects go looking, you're the first person they find. I'm going to be curious if in 2022, the statistic shifts, but right now they say that by the time we interact with a salesperson, we're 85% of the way through the buying cycle. So that means your online presence is more important than ever.
And Heather has been around for years. She is not somebody who just came on the scene. I first met her probably 7 or 8 years ago. And her track record, her background is phenomenal. So yeah, I really do recommend get the book. Follow her on social media, because she really does a great job. Hey, I love Larry chiming in here. An ever-flowing relationship funnel fuels an ever-flowing sales funnel. Isn't that interesting? Relationships create the sales funnel, because you know what? Sales is about relationships. Absolutely, without a doubt. So it's cool. Love it. Hey, should we jump into the lightning round?
I think we should, because we are about at time to tell you the truth.
I know. Okay, are you ready? Lightning round. Top New Year's sales resolutions. Go.
Number one, that you are going to overhaul your sales process and your sales strategy, that you're going to look at it and make sure that it's relevant for 2022.
Focus on the activity, not on the absolute result.
Prospect. Get out of the gate, build your prospect list, get all their contact information.
know that the sale is going to occur in the follow-up. Gee, I just stole that from Meredith.
The sale happens in the follow-up, always happens in the follow-up. I would say that another New Year's resolution is that you are going to be consistent as heck. You are going to establish those behaviors, and you are going to make sales a lifestyle, not a task. Something you do every day, like brushing your teeth, exercising. And if you don't do those two things, we need to talk.
It's the discipline of time. One of the things that I always talk about is the 10 a.m. rule. Can I accomplish something significant before 10 a.m.? I'm changing this for next year. It's the 8 a.m. rule. I want to have accomplished something significant by 8 a.m. every morning.
Yeah. Quarterly shed fast. Let go of what isn't working. Be honest and truthful with yourself. We are living in a marketplace where there is more happening outside of your organization than inside that can impact your ability to be successful through no fault of your own. Some of the things you're doing in January won't work in June.
Keep your sales funnel tight. Understand your ideal customer profile and stay zeroed in on them.
Focus on your reputation and what you look on online. Remember, like we said, 85% of the buying happens through what people find on social media. What are you doing to position yourself as an expert?
Keep yourself a log. What is the business I'm incrementally creating versus just getting? Remember, sales is about incremental opportunities.
Yeah, think a lot about social proof. It's going to be really powerful in 2022. Gather those testimonials, video and written from your customers, and use them in your selling process.
I'll share one more, you share one more, and we close it down.
Okay.
Be listening to Sales Logic podcast every week. Make it a habit, because we got some cool stuff coming out in 2022.
We do. It's a year of a lot of excitement. I don't think I can top that one, but let me close out by saying, realize that a sales call is a privilege. Never go into a call winging it. Do your research, do your homework. Be one step ahead in understanding the problems your customers have. In the words of Larry Levine, you need to be relevant in 2022, or you are not going to close a deal.
I love it. Hey, thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We will see you for one more episode of Sales Logic on Monday mornings. Then we'll be returning to our Saturday schedule. Please, if you have a question, send it into saleslogicpodcast.com. Next week, we're going to reveal all the exciting things we have coming in 2022. But again, we are grateful this year to all of you for joining us every week, for being so active and so engaged. So with that, Mark, enjoy your house hunting in Dallas, and we'll see you all next week right here, Sales Logic.